In War Thunder, lower tiers can have some of the most fun gameplay out there, and I'm not talking all the way down to reserves. In Tier 1, you're probably still deciding if you want to play the game, getting used to it, and I think learning should be your main goal, not grinding. I'd say around BRs 2.0 to 5.0 is my target area. 4.0 is still my best all-around BR, after all. For the purposes of this video, let's call low tiers anything tiers 2 through 4. A lot of, if not all, War Thunder players, especially at low tiers, have the goal of grinding research points at some point throughout their journey. This is easier said than done. This guide is aimed at aiding those players along in their grinds. I'll discuss everything from things you can do in Hangar to improve your grind, to actual methods and tips you can use and build upon in match. Of course, everything I discuss is in my opinion and helped me personally through my early grinds. Obligatory, keep in mind, shot from my perspective and with my experiences in mind. Hopefully they are, but my tips might not be applicable to you, and that's okay. For those of you with different playstyles, this video will still be applicable to you. Keep watching. It's getting old at this point, but yes, it's necessary to say. And please spare me the "this game is trash, making you pay to make any real progress" comments. How about you just try to have some fun for once? The entire point of the game isn't to reach top tier, you don't need top tier vehicles to do so, and it is a video game after all, so why are you playing in the first place if you aren't having fun? Anyways, rant over, premium vehicles and account are almost necessary if your goal is to reach any decently high BR vehicle anytime soon. War Thunder players all know and accept this fact. Like I was saying, a lot of people complain, but it is what it is, it's a long-term game. I do recommend purchasing premium accounts and vehicles if you're in a position to do so. It'll help you immensely. Before purchasing a premium vehicle, do your own due diligence. Just because a YouTuber or your friend likes it does not mean that you will too. Watch some YouTube videos, research online, look at the stat card, but most importantly, do some test drives. Speaking of the stat card, ensure the modifier is good enough for you compared to other premiums that would be efficient to grind with for you. If you are in a tighter spot and can't keep buying premium vehicles to have the most efficient grinding at each tier, but you might have a little money to spend every now and then, that's okay, I'm with you, brother. Premium account alone is a significant boost to grinding. With leftover golden eagles, you might even be able to squeeze out a talisman if you're any lucky. Talismans can be added to any tech tree vehicle and boost your RP by an entire 100%. This boost is absolutely massive and obviously cannot be understated. That's 2 matches for the price of 1. Or, you could convert your golden eagles to RP. In my opinion, GE are way better off spent on premium account time or on vehicles. I would not recommend converting. If you're too poor in GE to afford something currently, save up. Things go on sale sometimes, or maybe you'll get a coupon for a vehicle you'd consider buying from a battle trophy. This is sounding awfully like a sales pitch, so I'm going to move into the next section now. The single most important thing I can tell you is to set yourself up in Hangar to play whatever aligns most with your goal for the match. Since we're discussing grinding, I'll tell you what I think is the best way to set yourself up to get RP. There's quirkier methods, don't get me wrong, that I think should be used no more than every once in a while, just to switch up the monotony and keep yourself motivated. Speaking of quirkier methods, let me just get the arcade game mode out of the way by saying that after reaching tier 2, and sometimes 3 vehicles, in my opinion, arcade mode falls into this quirky category. Don't get me wrong, no hate. I started in and learned most of the basics from arcade, and it can be super fun, but that's what it's useful for. Learning the basics and having fun at lower tiers. And it's certainly nice to take the game less serious every now and then. But RB in general has higher potential for RP, barring any skill issues. For the purposes of this video, to grind the quickest, play what you do the best in, or what you get the most score in. For everyone, this is different. I'll talk more about this in the next section. But for now, I will tell you that for planes, you have the most potential to get RP in ARB matches as a fighter going for other planes. Of course, this is barring any gaijin moments, or aforementioned skill issues. Not to make you feel bad or anything, at this tier it's completely normal to have skill issues. Don't be too hard on yourself, and don't worry about them either. They can, and will, if you're a subscriber of mine, be fixed. RP potential for tanks is also best in RB. The only real way to get better at grinding ground RB, in my opinion, is getting better at ground RB itself. This comes with having many hours of playing time. Obviously though, don't burn yourself out. One last thing I'll mention is to keep in mind the modifier of your vehicle. While it's certainly important to have as high of an RP modifier as possible for the best grinding, it's also a trade-off with how well you can perform in it. If you do significantly worse in vehicles with good modifiers than you do in ones that have slightly worse modifiers, I'd say obviously take the vehicle you perform better in. It's going to take some figuring out, which leads me into my next section. It's up to you to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. Do some experimenting. In general, I like to tell newer players not to judge the game too harshly overall based on just the tier 1 or even tier 2 vehicles. Just because you see someone take a 2.0 lineup into arcade and get 11 kills and 10k RP or whatever it might be, doesn't necessarily mean that you can too. No judgment in that whatsoever, I'm just using it as an example. This is why experimenting and trying different stuff out for yourself is very important. See what works for you and obviously focus on that. One thing I'll mention in this section, because I don't know where else to put it, activate boosters. These are obtained from daily rewards, the Warbond shop, or battle trophies. Use these efficiently by using one at a time, not stacking them. Or go meme around by stacking them all at once and seeing a big drop. It's up to you. Personally, I enjoy stacking boosters and seeing how far it takes me, but I can't recommend this to you for efficiency's sake. To experiment, you're gonna have to just play everything, and I'm talking vehicles and game modes. For game modes, I'd highly recommend playing a lot of each and seeing what you like best. It's hard to get a gauge for any of this game's game modes based on only a few matches because anything can happen in any given match. The better you do in a match, the more fun you'll have and more likely you'll be to return to the game mode. I say don't judge game modes based on only a few matches because it's also true that the worse you do, the less fun you'll probably have. At first, it's going to be very difficult to do well while you're still figuring things out, and it's not going to be very fun. But if you push through it and are able to reach a point of having fun and being somewhat decent, the game can be so rewarding in both RP and personal satisfaction in whatever game mode you play. Yeah, call me a mega nerd, whatever. This game is so grindy that I genuinely get excited to unlock new stuff. In fact, I'm excited for the fact that in making this video, I'm potentially helping you guys unlock stuff. I'm thinking about the thousands of potential vehicles I could be contributing to unlocking right now. How's that for mega nerd? This is just going to be a short little section. I want to mention that there are free ways to obtain premium vehicles. These are rarer and difficult. I don't personally know too much about them, but I'll mention them so that you can do your own research into it. From time to time, special events pop up in War Thunder if you're lucky that can give you an event vehicle as a reward. Sometimes, if you're even luckier, these vehicles can be premiums. Stay on the lookout for these. Also, invite your friends using your link. You'll get, at the very least, a few GE out of it you can put towards premium time, or, if you're popular enough, even get a vehicle. Try to make the most out of each match you join. To put this into perspective, your vehicle is important and it should be treated so. It probably has a repair cost and you don't want to just lose it for no reason if possible. Don't just go head on with someone below you or go rushing up the middle of the map in a locust to shoot at a puma going for a cap with no awareness of your positioning, as just a couple examples. If you work on staying alive as long as possible by playing more defensively, you'll find yourself generally receiving more RP per game because you can have a bigger impact on the match. You're in the battle for longer. Don't take this as me telling you to climb to space or to camp behind a rock in the corner of the map watching one angle the entire game, but like I said before, take smart engagements and adjust your positioning as necessary. Obviously, being better at the game helps with this, but to be honest, there isn't many things you need to keep in mind, and if you can get the basics down, you're good. In this section, I'm just going to throw a couple of ideas and methods at you that helped me in my early grinds. Feel free to expand upon them in any applicable way. Try out arcade mode if you find yourself struggling stock and you need to get some modifications researched, or even just playing arcade in general. I know I dogged on it a little earlier, but hear me out. I started in and learned basic mechanics from, and I'm talking very basic, don't take it more than like 1% seriously, arcade mode, and you can too. Speaking of air arcade, give ground pounding in a plane with a high ammo count a try. Keep your head on a swivel and try not to get taken down obviously, but see how many ground targets you can take out at the same time. This used to be pretty effective for me for grinding before I was a somewhat effective dogfighter. Something seemingly obvious, with understated importance in my opinion, side climbing. Sometimes you'll find yourself the only person at altitude where you can dive down and get 3, 4, even 5 kills before your advantage is lost. If you're willing to commit time to side climbing, the match will way likelier be a win for you. Or in ground RB, try out using speedy stuff to get to caps and flank around enemies. At low tiers, I highly prefer playing things I can move around well in. The point of this is to be able to rush around the map, around enemies to shoot them in the sides and rear, and to get caps. Most of the time, this means taking a light tank, which means the ability to scout, which means extra RP. If you're good enough, you can stay alive the whole match, scouting, capping, destroying optimal targets, without giving away your position. Lastly, overall, try out different things. I implore you to come up with your own methods or build upon anything I've said in any of my videos or anything else you've heard. Like I said before, just experiment. One time I used the 37mm on the P63 in Air RB to kill ground units. I don't recommend this, but it was different, and at the time I actually enjoyed it. An occasional bomber would fly in my vicinity and I'd get to watch them explode from my big boom boom. I just kept flying that, having fun, until eventually most of Tier 3 was researched and I barely even processed it. I was just simply enjoying the game with no expectations. This was also back a while ago when the game was very different, but still. There's certain stigmas around certain things in War Thunder. For example, I'll make jokes about flying bombers all the time. This is because I don't personally enjoy bomber gameplay. If you do, and you find it effective at grinding for you, then good, grind it until it's dead. I'll never judge anyone for doing what works for them whatsoever. That's about all the time I've got for today's video. At the time of recording this, I gotta go get on stream. If you liked it, or you learned something, drop a like and let me know what it was down in the comments. Also, feel free to subscribe and check out my other content. I've got plenty of funny shorts and informative videos on general topics and specific vehicles in War Thunder. Anyways, as you all know, it's time for me to go. This is Nimbo Soup, Nimbo signing out. Peace everyone.